Hello guys, welcome everyone to Mando Monday. This is the series where you guys ask the questions and I of course answer them. This can be do with anything related to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, possibly some CSGO investing, maybe some Star Wars questions, who knows? Do I ever sleep, and are CSGO hacks illegal in some countries? With that being said, if you guys have a question that you guys want answered for next week's video, make sure you comment it down below and for a chance for me to pick it for next week's video. Once again, this series has become far more popular than I ever really intended it for, but I like reading your guys' questions, and if I can't answer it in a video, I'll at least try to answer it in some sort of comment form. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Skins Monkey.
Hi you! Yes, you! Would you like to get $5 for free for your first trade? Just use skinsmonkey.com and get your extra skins. See description below to enjoy the special promotion and receive 5% cashback for trading your CSGO skins.
So a lot of things have happened this past week. Obviously the majors happened. I have officially gotten my gold coin, or at least gotten to past the legend stage, which has been absolutely amazing. It was a big rush for a lot of people, but there are about 3 things I want to discuss before hopping into the questions for this week's. 1, the Monacy bug, the buying into Stockholm right now, and of course the current situation with cheating and gambling in CS, I think is at an all-time high that needs to get a little brief over, at least in today's. So one thing, the Monacy bug, this has bugged a lot of people with no pun intended whatsoever. Officially PGL has come out and said they will play on the regular patch for the PGL major and they won't disqualify them, but back in the day, people used the Olaf boost. They got fined, kicked out of the tournament, and they had to forfeit, I believe, and disqualified, which is just absolutely horrible. Obviously, times have changed, people have changed, and people have different arguments for it, right? If it's in the game and Valve hasn't fixed it, people should be allowed to use it. And I'm kind of on the fence beside that, right? To one, it's really, really cool that they found that, but at the same time, it's pretty unfair. Like, if you look at it from, a different perspective, from mid side on Mirage, you're just getting spammed through mid, and it's completely unfair. And of course, buying into Stockholm, it's definitely not the worst option in the world. People think that Stockholm and really any other item in CSGO is going to go down during the 75% off sale for Antwerp because people are going to sell that to unbox the new capsules, which I definitely think is the case, but I also think there's a really, really decent possibility that that won't be the case either. Everyone's been thinking one thing in the CSGO investing scene this past year or 2 years, if it's down to RMR being a really good investment, them not having a 75% off sale, then boom, they have a 75% off sale. There's a chance that we might not ever get transparent backgrounds again, boom, Stockholm happens. Then there's definitely not a right chance that we're going to get another year with transparent background stickers, right? Boom, that happens again. What do you know? There's not, of course, signatures on these souvenir packages this year, which is another huge disappointment, even though they're in the game. So what's stopping them really from not to go down in price? Obviously, this is controlled by the community, but I think people maybe see Stockholm's potential and future right now, but that's just my personal opinion. I think right now is perfectly fine to buy in, but it also could drop down quite a bit. So you kind of have to weigh your pros and cons about that. If you're definitely going to hold for the long term, I don't really see why now is the worst time in the world to do it. But if you're kind of on the fence about everything, I would just wait for the 75% off sale, because if you're going to hold for the long term anyway, you either missed that boat to make a quick extra few dollars, or you didn't either. And of course, the current situation with cheating and gambling, and not a lot of people even know what I'm talking about. Well, the cheating situation has been absolutely horrible. The past week with cheating, especially in matchmaking, which I've been very vocal about the past couple of years about this to Valve, they've been extremely lazy with updates with cheating. There's a cheater in practically every game I've played in matchmaking, which is just not fun. And people are saying, why don't you go play Face It? I feel like as a CSGO fan and a Counter-Strike fan that I shouldn't have to download a third-party service or third-party software and of course an anti-cheat to play their video game, especially on the casual level. I'm not going to be professional. Neither are probably 99% of the people watching this video or just in the CSGO scene in general. They just want to sit down, play CSGO, relax, and the last thing they want, and for me to want, is of course to run into a cheater. And of course that's a third world problem, but I just don't really care. Feel like it should be fixed, and this is absolutely horrible. And of course, the gambling scene. There's been a big question amongst my YouTube channel, other YouTube channels, and there's been a lot of ads for gambling recently, which has caused a lot of controversy. And it's always been very controversial. But there was this one video in the CSGO investing scene. I'm not even going to talk about the guy's name. He doesn't show his sub count. I think he's a brand new channel, and he talked about investing into CSGO, and of course investing into cases, and opening cases to be specifically. But they're not just any cases. They're on a CSGO gambling site. And that sparked a lot of debate, a lot of attention, and I think it has like 20,000 views, but like 100 likes, which is not very good whatsoever. Usually a like to dislike ratio and how it works with views is usually every 1,000 views, you usually get about 10 to 15 likes, and that's absolutely horrific. But I feel like just skin companies and more so gambling sites need to be kind of shut down in the community. I'm someone, and I think Fels is too, and I think Master Shiny, and really any other CSGO investing YouTuber, is very vocal about the CSGO gambling scene. And especially how much money we get offered, it's pretty horrendous and pretty horrific. You know, my demographics on YouTube, I believe, most people watch my videos are around 17 years old, 15 to 17, and then that's like probably 10 to 15%, and the rest is like 30 to like 40 years old, which is kind of nuts. But the point is, we're getting these gambling offers and gambling sponsors from these websites that are really hard to turn down, especially if you're in a hard financial situation. But at the same time, they're so sketch and they have such bad odds. Most of them are rigged, which every casino is if you walk into it. But what are you guys' thoughts on these three situations? Do you think the modesty bug is fair? Do you think they did the right thing? Do you not think that? Do you guys think buying the Stockholm is a bad idea right now, or should you wait an extra couple weeks, or will it not really matter too much? And of course, what are your thoughts on the cheating situation and of course the gambling scene right now? Because it's not looking too great. With that being said, let's hop right into the question. Now, our first question up here from Epi, he says, "Hi man, I'm very curious, and how do you cash out from CSGO? Can you make a video about this?" Well, I'm actually going to make a video in today's video, or at least talk about it, maybe another time, possibly this week. Well, one thing I always like to discuss and talk about is cashing out for real life cash. You're going to lose probably 25 to at least 30% of the value of whatever you're trading. And if it's something really, really hard to sell, good luck with that trading. And well, what I mean by that is you probably should list it for something maybe a little cheaper of what it's actually worth, and maybe try and get a trade with somebody. Get that traded for a liquidated item, if that's cases, certain stickers, or maybe a certain knife like a Doppler always really sells really quickly on like a bayonet, M9 bayonet, or even a gut knife, really. You get those, you sell those on a third-party website, and they're usually a lot easier to sell. Some people, what they do is they'll list an item on Buff because they're the biggest marketplace in the world, and if you're somewhere from North America or Europe, you'll go on a place like Skinport, and then sell your item, and it goes directly to your bank via bank transfer. And cash trades are not really something I talk about a whole lot because I believe they're kind of sketch and for the most part a big ripoff for a lot of people, but it's one way to do it if you really, really need the money. And of course, if it's a pretty rare item, you might want to do some with someone a little higher up in the community like Zipple or OniPixel or Anomaly, for an example. Our next comment up here from Disco Man, he says, "You sound like Mick Skillet." Well, thank you, man. Maybe he never actually died in that car accident. We don't really know. Our next question up here, or comment, let's just say, from the Fallen Moon, he says, "Imagine if we never have stickers with background again." This has been something that's kind of been in the back of my mind for the past few months. What if we never get stickers, or at least for the next like 5 to 10 years, without a background? Which I think this is probably a pretty likely option, but at the same time, it seems like Valve is trying to just get money and milk this to the absolute limit of what they can as of right now. So that's the only thing that's stopping me. Maybe what's stopping them of making transparent background stickers every single year, and then transparent backgrounds are going to be worth nothing. Katowice is going to be, falling down over time, of course, and Antwerp and, of course, BGL stuff is going to fall down even harder. Let me know what you guys think on that one specifically. Universal comes up with another question. Which is the best capsule to buy on the 75% off Antwerp sale? Now, this one is a pretty hefty one because for me, I'm not really necessarily investing into this major. I don't really plan on it. You guys know I'm pretty hard into Stockholm. The Stockholm copium is, of course, real, but on top of that, I believe it to be a better major to buy into. But at the end of the day, I think they're both pretty bad. Just because they are majors, at any point in time, things can change just like that, and they're kind of a 50-50 chance rather than cases, or pretty much guaranteed over time. But for the Antwerp major, contenders and legends are definitely something I'm going with, and I think a lot of other people are looking into. But something I said about Stockholm and why I thought and why I invested into the contenders anyway at the time, which no one really talked about, because no one really talked about them. That was literally the point. So with this major specifically, maybe you're going to want to go into something that not a lot of people are looking into, because everyone's eyes are going to be obviously in that Legends capsule and Contenders capsule. Maybe go with something else. I'm not too sure. At the end of the day, we're just going to look at seeing what the numbers are, but that's what I'm going to be going with, just for like a fun hobby thing to see how these things do over the course of the next couple years. I also wouldn't really expect this to be much like Stockholm, just sort of an FYI, but that's obviously kind of speculation, not really any backing to prove that at this point. Our next question up here, okay, he says, what is your favorite character from all of the Star Wars series? This one's hard, right? If we're talking straight up movies, it's definitely probably going to be Anakin. I can kind of relate to him on some sort of level, but obviously not with the murdering of children. Just having a different life and different childhood, and it was something being able to relate to. And I also just really like his arc in the movies. Like, I always like seeing him go from really, really bad guy to really good guy, eventually at the end when he saves Luke. And then obviously his come up during the Clone Wars and the Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones. It was just really, really good. And of course, I grew up with the prequels, and now here I am able to afford some of the Lego sets I couldn't buy when I was a kid for whatever reason. And it's just really nice to be able to do that now, which is kind of off topic. What's your favorite Star Wars character? And that goes for anybody. This is a lot harder of a question than I really thought. I haven't really thought too much out about it. I mean, Boba Fett and Mando are cool, but they just don't really hit the same, I guess, because I didn't ever really grew up with them as much as I did with the prequels, even though Boba and Jango were in the prequels. And of course, the original trilogy, which I watched quite a bit, but it's just a little weird. Humble with the next question. He says, any thoughts on Star Wars? I don't know, man. With all jokes aside, everyone was saying it was alright, so did I down in the comments. As of right now, I think it's kind of going down the toilet. That's just how I feel about Star Wars as a whole. There's been a lot of leaks with the Kenobi show recently, which I'm not going to discuss on the channel, but it's extremely disappointing from what I've heard. At first, it wasn't something I wanted to hear. It was by accident, and I'm not very happy with the Kenobi show whatsoever, how it's looking, but obviously that's just a leak, and there's been a lot of things that have been wrong, but I would say the Kenobi show is also my last straw with the Disney Star Wars era. Like, I'm going to be done with Star Wars from here on out, at least for the newer stuff. Like, I'm not going to consume any of that media. I just don't care. I don't care if it's The Mandalorian. I don't care if it's the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. I don't really care if they remade the prequels in some sort of sense into another series. Maybe that I'd watch. But even then, this is the final straw. If they mess this up, I am done with the future Star Wars stuff, media, whatnot, toys. Probably for good. A CSGO question up here, okay, he says, in my opinion, the Eternal Fire is just a budget C9 sticker, which I completely agree with. I think the Eternal Fire is a really good looking sticker, but it just doesn't have that much blue on it compared to the C9. Also isn't that well known of a team and is kind of just a budget version, is like what you said. How that's going to turn out in the future, I don't really know. Could this be a more expensive sticker than C9 because everyone's eyes are on the C9 sticker right now? This major is just going to be super interesting. One, to see who gets the diamond coin, and on top of that, who makes the most amount of profit in the future from this major. Our next question and comment up here, he says, man, I can't believe it. I'm a LEGO Star Wars collector and CSGO skin enthusiast as well. These are some nice sets in the back. This entire wall over here on the right side of the screen, or possibly your left, I don't know how this works anymore. This is going to be all prequel based, and of course Clone Wars sets only. I know we got some original trilogy with the Boba Fett right there. It's going to get moved. As you can see, we got some Republic fighter tanks and some AATs from the Clone Wars, and up here we got a whole bunch of other stuff, which I will take down maybe for a video when we do a room tour, when everything is officially done. And in the background over there with those shelves, I'm going to have all the original trilogy sets, which I'm really excited to just display and show finally. And this has been a display I've wanted to have for such a long time. The only thing that's bad about it is, of course, dust, but of course, collecting. I can officially say I have almost gotten every single prequel and Clone Wars set I've ever wanted in my life. Now, there are a few that I will probably never buy because they are too expensive, and of course, just because I don't have the room. As you can kind of see, I'm already limited on room, and I kind of have to manage my space pretty well here, which I'm very blessed to have this much room, but I want a table for a mock, and of course, I have to have room for a separate table for, of course, my LEGO YouTube channel, which I do have, which is very, very exciting to finally get going once again, because it's kind of been a few months. To hear you guys' thoughts. Are you guys into anything kind of like Lego, for an example, that's not CSGO, but like you collect it, for an example, on the same level you do CSGO skins? Love to hear. Cloud's up next. He's asking, who is not getting the diamond Antwerp coin? Now, this is something I feel like is going to be very hard for a lot of people, just because this major was extremely difficult to predict who was going to make it through. I don't think I've ever really witnessed or been in a major, or not been in a major, but like gone through a pick'em and it's been this difficult. Maybe, I guess you could say, since Liquid choked the major a long time ago, that could have been it for some people around Columbus 2015. But really, unless there's a huge upset, there's not really a whole lot of things. But this year, since every team is just so good, it's hard to predict who's going to make that 3-0 and, of course, 0-3, because someone's going to have. With that being said, that wraps up our questions for this week's video on Mando Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed the lengthier version of Mando Monday with that little spiel at the beginning. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the questions and a little more Star Wars-esque for today's Mando Monday. Have a good day, guys. I'm out. Peace.